My name is Harry, and I'm from London.
Meghan Markle here. Private security in the UK cannot carry guns. They also don't have any access to the level of intelligence the police do. Prince Harry and his family are the most vulnerable of the royal family and therefore need the security. They have had several threats from various groups. Okay, right. So what's the motive behind the continuation of the case then? Right, including white supremacists, two of which they imprisoned for their threats, including threats to their son, Prince Archie. It's prevalent, but at least he or she asked the question. All right, let's go to the next tweet. Still has to do with the court, and I think the article was the most important thing I wanted to read. There's the laugh here. Trolls didn't know he was coming. Big up yourself, Prince Harry. A man of principle. Meghan handsome husband. Archie and little Bet's papa. It's the scribe throwing shades at the royal voters who tends to seem to know everything about Harry and Meghan, but this one didn't know he was coming. Do you mean to tell me that all their insiders didn't tell them that he was coming? Laughing my ass off. The chicken took a day off, their only source. Okay, bravo, Prince Harry. I guess they all flew to Italy to talk about King Charles and they miss out on Harry. Next tweet. It's the British government knowing what happened to his mother, knowing he can't help that his father is the king, knowing he serves his country, knowing that people have already been found guilty for wanting to kill him and his family, but still playing with his safety, Prince Harry. Right? They flaunted him in front of the camera since birth, treating him like public property. Now they pretend he can be just anonymous citizen. Insanity. Exactly. Every single one of, Prime Minister? Okay. Exactly. Every single one of Prime Minister, even those who work for as short as few days, get security for life. Like I was saying, Liz Truss. Harry was treated like a piece of garbage on condition that he was publicly funded and got armed security provided for him and his family.
Driving us out into the fields, asked about Meg. Not with great interest, just casually. Still, he didn't always ask, so I was pleased. She's good, thanks. Does she want to carry on working? Say again. Does she want to keep on acting? Oh, I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't think so. I expect she'll want to be with me, doing the job, you know, which would rule out Suits, since they film in Toronto. I see. Well, darling boy, you know there's not enough money to go around. I stared. What was he banging on about? He explained, or tried to. I can't pay for anyone else. I'm already having to pay for your brother and Catherine. I flinched. Something about his use of the name Catherine. I remembered the time he and Camilla wanted Kate to change the spelling of her name because there were already two royal ciphers with a C and a crown above. Charles and Camilla. It would be too confusing to have another. Make it Catherine with a K, they suggested. I wondered now what came of that suggestion. I turned to Willie, gave him a look that said, "You listening to this?" His face was blank. Pa didn't financially support Willie and me and our families out of any largesse. That was his job. That was the whole deal. We agreed to serve the monarch, go wherever we were sent, do whatever we were told, surrender our autonomy, keep our hands and feet inside the gilded cage at all times, and in exchange the keepers of the cage agreed to feed and clothe us. Was Pa, with all his millions from the hugely lucrative Duchy of Cornwall, trying to say that our captivity was starting to cost him a bit too much? Besides which, how much could it possibly cost to house and feed Meg? I wanted to say, she doesn't eat much, you know, and I'll ask her to make her own clothes, if you like. It was suddenly clear to me that this wasn't about money. Pa might have dreaded the rising cost of maintaining us, But what he really couldn't stomach was someone new dominating the monarchy, grabbing the limelight. Someone shiny and new coming in and overshadowing him, and Camilla. He'd lived through that before and had no interest in living through it again.
To then now completely go back on that. All right, next tweet. Now can you okay, where we are, Dan Wootton. Now we are into Dan Wootton things. Okay, so this is a video. Said little man, aka Daniella. What do we have here? All right, what did it say? Entertainment, PA Entertainment. A former colleague of Dan Wootton has accused the ex-GB News presenter of pretending to be a woman and flirting messages and tricking him into sending explicit images in a catfishing case the High Court has heard. And it's dated, okay, I almost say it's not even October, but they numbered that date. Okay, 8/4/2025. 15 seconds. What? Oh my god. The squad. The sound effect. Oh my god.
Oh my god.
The squad are crazy. It's a sound effect that they put, and there's the PA Entertainment headlines. Oh my god. Next tweet. The squad are crazy. Right. A court has heard the ex-Sun journalist Dan Wootton allegedly used the name Maria Joseph. This, I spoke about it maybe a year or two from Byline. Byline Investigate spoke about it. Right. Maria Joseph to trick a former colleague into sending intimate pictures and also explicit video of himself. Check Byline time. Okay, so that's the one I share already. Let's see here. I'm not gonna read that. I'll leave the link in the description for you guys. It's a small one. Okay, let's see here. I said I'm not gonna read it, but anyway, 6 hours ago. Dan Wootton tricked colleagues into sending intimate pictures, court told. Okay, a former colleague of Dan Wootton was tricked by the journalist and broadcaster into sending intimate pictures and an explicit video of himself, according to a case lodged at the High Court. A hearing on Tuesday heard that Mr. Wootton pretended to be a woman using the name Maria Joseph and online messages with the man who has brought this case, who can't be named. In writing submission, the individual's barrister Justin Levison told the court that Mr. Wootton sent the man partially and naked photographs of a woman, oh my god, as well as a video of a couple having, there's the word here, sex in 2010. Oh my god, these people are crazy. Mr. Levison said the man had been deceived by Mr. Wootton into believing he had been exchanging messages with the woman in the image. The hearing heard that as a result, the man thought he was talking to a woman who was interested in a sexual relationship, and that as a result, he sent intimate photographs and video of himself carrying out a sex act. Mr. Levison told the court that Mr. Wootton had, quote, tricked the claimant into providing these images, end quote. The man subsequently became aware that Maria Joseph did not exist and that he had in fact sent the images to Mr. Wootton. The man has now brought a claim against the former Sun and GB News journalist, alleging he had been the victim of obtaining sexual images by deceit and that it resulted him suffering injury, including psychiatric injury. The case is at an early stage and Mr. Wootton has not yet filed a defense to the claim. At Tuesday's hearing, Mr. Wootton asked the court to allow the man to be named publicly. Mr. Wootton's barrister Samuel Rowe argued that when a court order was made earlier this year granting the man anonymity, Mr. Wootton was not giving sufficient notice to be able to challenge it in court. This was rejected by Judge Roger Eastman. Mr. Rowe also argued that if the court had been told some relevant information, it would have been justified in not granting the order. Mr. Rowe said these matters included the fact that Mr. Wootton had been investigated by the Metropolitan Police and Police Scotland in connection with the allegation that he used fake online identities to obtain explicit images without consent, and that both forces had concluded that no further action would be taken in ending their investigation. Mr. Levison told the court that as far as he was aware, Those investigations did not relate to the claimant's complaint, but to similar ones. The judge again said those issues were no reason for lifting the anonymity order. In addition, Mr. Vo argued that granting anonymity offended the principle of open justice. Now, they just want to smear his name. Okay, the judge rejected that argument and said there was clear evidence of potential adverse and seriously adverse effect on the claimant if the claimant name being in the public domain in this case. It's almost like when Meghan was suing the papers and they wanted to name her friends at the People magazine. Let's see here. Okay, what was the other name he used that at Byline Time had reported a couple of years ago? Let's see here. Martin Brenning. Yep, that's exactly that. Right, so there's all that. This young man took his life. We can't forget Kevin. Who's that? Okay, then Wootton, there's that. You could read the rest. It's sad. It is very sad. Wow. There's no telling what he has on Prince Peggy of Peggers. Okay, wow. I didn't even know there was still some hearing on this. I didn't even know either. Once I was aware that the police stopped the investigation, and I thought that was it. And was it GB News manufactured that thing where that woman was crying? She was embarrassed. You know, that's her thing. But I feel like it was somewhat manufactured. But that will not diminish her, whatever she felt. Okay, just my opinion. But after they fire him, I thought that was it. But there it is. It's continue. Okay, wow. Okay, so that's the one I just read. He's been at this for years now, and sleazy efforts, Grimsey, and something going on at GBB and Wootton bail him from the sack. These people are horrible. Catfishing is nasty, perverted, and coercive, often ending in blackmail. He was always creepy. Found X Factor Studio. Explain heck of a lot. Alright, let's get to the next one. Is that the same one? Okay, let me make sure I don't skip anything. Oh my god, I'm almost an hour. Alright, so there's more videos here. Look at them. How embarrassing. They're never gonna give her any sympathy. Alright, what is this about? Is that about Meghan's thing? Because her podcast is still going on.
Maybe it feels disingenuous, but only because of the delivery of some of the stuff feels patronising.
Look, on the plus side, if there's anybody watching now who has this condition, and I think celebrities, and we've seen particularly in issues of emotional health, the two boys, William and Harry, have gained so many yards. Brilliant. So if this helps a woman come to terms with it, and she can now turn to her girlfriends or her doctor or her partner, we encourage that. I just think there's a lovely expression which my late mother used to, less is more. And I just think with the Duchess of Sussex, just for a period, and I have no personal animals towards her, I wish her well, I wish the children nothing but good health. I just think for a period, less is more would be such a welcome change. And
Okay.
I wonder whether many of the public would agree.
Okay, let's move on. Asda's launched facial recognition.
Okay, I'm a little bit confused. I know they're talking about Meghan. Less is more of what? Of what? Not doing anything? Not doing her business? Or not doing the podcast? I'm a little bit confused. Let me read some of this and see what they're talking about. That's completely off from the other topics here. Once again, a group of people, none of whom have ever met Meghan, feel they have authority and autonomy to dictate how she lives, breathes, speaks, thinks, acts, yet can't or rather won't get to the core of their behavior. Now, if a black brown person tells them it's racist, they repel. Okay, at Nifowavi LBC, I can't agree with you more. Less criticism of any of everything Meghan says or doesn't say or does or doesn't do will mean so much more. Now waiting to see you put your own words into practice. She can't breathe for the UK relentless criticism of her. I have no idea why they tell. The only thing I could think of, based on this screen, that video clip, is that they don't want her to do anything. Okay, they just want her to be dormant or in hiding, don't do anything. But she has to survive. She says she's been working since she was 13, and I think it today she posted something on her Instagram about her doing Girl Scout cookies. Yeah, there it is, this one. Okay, being an entrepreneur can start young. By the way, all these years later, and I'm still selling cookies. Tune in for the premiere episode of Confession of a Female Founder featuring my dear friend at Whitney, now streaming whether you get your podcast, Lemonada. Okay, that's the one I'm still listening. I'm 41 minutes into it, so I need to finish it. So she posted that today. That's her at a young age. Look at her little face here. Look like Archie's profile. There she is here. Okay, selling cookies. Okay, so back to that. Okay, which one did I read here? I wish people would stop sharing their opinion. These people will never change. Meghan doesn't need their advice. Okay, racist was cat. Okay. Of all the problems facing us in UK today, Meghan's podcast from all the way in Montecito is not one. When are these vacuous people going to actually focus on the relevant problems affecting the UK and its citizens? Meghan moved on 5 years ago like you wanted. Take your knees off Meghan's neck. So this is my last one. Anything that I have, I think I will be talking tonight if I do more recording, have to do with the podcast. Mel, remember when the Sussexes were booed by a few people at the Jubbly? Right? There's this here. Remember when Charles had egg thrown at him? There's me here. I'm like, yep, I remember. Okay, let's pause. I'm quite bored of this NN media narrative now. How do editors and the royal family PR team not realize that Harry and Meghan are just getting on with their lives? That whatever shit that get thrown at them just isn't sticking. Give it up already. It's not working. Meanwhile, ¿Qué pasa with William and Kate? Right? I think that's in Spanish, like what's happening with William and Kate. Not even an alternate universe. Alright, so that is it. I wish I have seen that tweet when I was doing the other video. Hopefully I remember to insert it in my previous recording, and that has to do with Harry's security. So there's this here. In Spare, when Harry recalled talking to William about the removal of security and William claiming that was Granny, talk to Granny, shameless family. Alright, so there's me putting, I literally just put it here 25 seconds ago. And I was like, let me drop this, those the articles, in case some of y'all didn't know about it. We have to ask, based on this, those articles, did Queen Elizabeth knew about all of the issues that were happening? Did her secretary was informing her with all important information? There's this here. The Queen's biggest mistake of the last decade was allowing Charles and Andrew to oust Lord Gates from the royal household. Alright, so there's some key issue here. The Queen's top advisor is in the firing line following the Duke and Duchess of Sussex bombshell announcement last week, in which they effectively resigned as senior royals. The blame is being laid by a member of the royal family and the Queen's private secretary, Sir Edward Young's feet, as the courtier seems likely to become a casualty of the scandal. It is thought that even Princess Anne and Prince Edward, who had sought to steer clear of the drama, have voiced their concern over Young's incompetence. All of the guns are blazing at Edward Young, a source in the royal household told The Times. He has not geared up the system to protect the monarch. Yet very senior members of the royal family think he should go. Alright, so that's Anne and Edward, okay, who had concern of him. But Charles, on the other hand, Young was hired 2 years ago following the ousted of Lord Gates. That last, this should have been last. Okay, I misarranged it, but anyway, the information are there. Young was hired 2 years ago following ousted of Lord Gates, who have been private secretary for 10 years. At the time, Gates was removed by Prince Charles and Prince Andrew after expressed strong opinion and warning about both Prince Andrew and the Sussexes, two situations that have come to pass. Prince Charles was thought to be angry that he did not have a big enough role in organizing his own 70th birthday, while Andrew is said to have long resented him for removing him as the UK's trade envoy in 2011 following his link to Jeffrey Epstein being exposed. Young served as Gates' deputy, playing a key role in organizing the Queen's Diamond Jubilee and the London 2012 Olympic Games opening ceremony skit. Unfortunately, the choice of Young as a replacement as a weaker, easier courtier to control than Gates has backfired massively. There is a massive blame game, the source continues. Edward Young was appointed by Charles because he wanted someone weak. All this should have been underlined, but he has not been wise or intuitive. This Harry and Meghan thing has not suddenly happened. The Prince Andrew situation didn't just happen. Senior officials like Gates were warning about this stuff years ago, which is why Charles and Andrew got rid of him. Okay? So people need to know about all of that. So before they start blaming the Queen. Charles removed the secretary, this guy who was doing his job, because he was protecting the crown, but instead they put Young. Alright, let's see this one. Prince Harry sent formal letters. Let me click on it. Prince Harry sent formal letters before action detailing the claim about Wootton and the palace to News UK. Sir Clive Alderton, today King Charles, and Queen Camilla's right-hand man, and the former Lord Chamberlain, Lord Peel, put pressure on Harry to alter the legal papers. When the aide's name was not removed from the legal letters, the Sussexes were caught adrift financially and left unable to protect themselves despite having a security threat level equal to the monarch. The royal household had thought the threat of exposure and forced Harry and Meghan to return to the UK, where their profile could be controlled, preventing them from eclipsing the future king. These people are freaking ridiculous with that spotlight shit. Okay, except that wasn't Granny. Okay, interesting. Alright, so that is that. I don't know. I'll have to create another video that has to do with security, and since tomorrow the 9th, there's gonna be another hearing, we'll hear more stuff. Okay, I'm just gonna answer that. Hopefully I remember with what I recorded earlier. The prayer for this is let there be peace on earth. Alright, so please take a moment to subscribe, like, and share. If you want to support this channel, there's a PayPal link in the description. You could donate. Those who have donated, thank you. Alright, so that is it. I have a lot of editing to do. Oh my god, I'm gonna be busy tonight. Thank you for watching.
It is a great privilege to be with all of you today.
You know, we ask for forgiveness and please come back.
As you saw me find the love and happiness that I'd hoped for all my life. together. And, if I may speak personally, we are all in this together. Because asking for help was one of the best decisions that I ever made. You will be continually amazed how life changes for the better.